Hello, everyone. Welcome to Follow Everton. I'm Ryan, the channel host and admin, and today I've got two wonderful pundits who are going to guide you through Everton versus Crystal Palace. I'm back in my studio of negativity for tonight, and these wonderful pundits include Luke from School of Science TV and the ever-present Toffee Blue, our very own Dan. Fresh with his hair growing faster than Everton slipping down the table. Right, let's bring these in. I think it's a little bit sluggish at my end tonight. I don't know what's wrong with the connection, so you'll have to bear with me. But let's get them into the stream.
Good evening, Ryan. How's it going?
Good evening, Luke. How are you, mate?
Pretty good, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, very well. I'm just going to fiddle around with this layout, if that's okay. I don't know whether, Dan, maybe you can have a look at that for me, because I'm into, for some reason, you know how you have a piece of technology and it works fine for years, and then all of a sudden it stops working and it's like designed to try and get you to buy a new one. I think this laptop's on its way out here, unfortunately. It's also a little bit weird to be back with my headphones on, back using a normal mic. It's an interesting setup, but I'm glad to be back on here. Dan, how are you?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. I was going to say, if you're getting it wrong, then I'm definitely going to get it wrong, because you told me what to do on this channel. But look, everything's right. I think people are coming on, comments are coming on. Can hear you all right, so it should be fine.
Okay, that's great. Well, we'll roll with it. Luke, thanks so much for coming on. I believe you were part of a really interesting video yesterday. We had some really good feedback on that, and if you haven't seen that, the video was like a mini season review, and we had a wonderful special guest on at the start. I definitely would recommend watching that back and enjoying the company of Yanndalf, Luke, Dan, and also Dave Weston, I believe, was on the show, wasn't he? One of our regulars.
Yeah, really good. It was a good little thing. We just randomly decided to get some of our subscribers on, give them the chance to show the faces, and it's nice to see our fans, because they are a big part of the channel, ain't they? So it was a good little move, I thought.
And definitely, Luke, you're welcome to come on streams moving forward. I think we are going to try and do some phone-in style post-match reactions as well on here on YouTube. Perhaps the format will look a little bit more like, I'll just show you now. Maybe I probably shouldn't be fiddling around with the layout, given how sluggish my internet is. I don't know whether that's changed anything for you. But Dan, if it changes the layout, change you back to the normal, we'll have to experiment at a normal time. I don't know what it is. For some reason, there's no signal. So, Everton versus Crystal Palace, Saturday, 3 o'clock, always has a nice charm. And Everton need to bounce back from 3 straight defeats. Man United, Tottenham Hotspur, and Newcastle. And the last 2 games in particular felt like we were like the kid at school, and it's the taking part that counts. And actually, we needed to see a lot more from the team. And Luke, definitely tomorrow, at Goodison Park, the Everton fans will be expecting nothing less than 3 points, you'd think.
Oh, absolutely. 3 points is an absolute in this game. Now, with it being basically Crystal Palace, we always know that it's going to be a good game against the likes of Crystal Palace. I mean, Patrick Vieira's really got them into a well-oiled machine, and right now it's probably the ideal sort of opposition we could go up to try and actually sneak a win, whether it be a sneaky little 1-0, or if it could be like last season where we went from 2-0 down to 3-2. Hopefully people are a little bit more calm if we do that this time around. But it's definitely going to be one of those sorts of games where we need to actually use it as the stepping platform to try and get back into winning ways.
Thanks, Luke. I mean, Dan, just adding to that, you don't want that level of drama that we had towards the end of the season. As much as the 3 points in any capacity are what we want, you don't want to see us 2-0 down at half-time trying to claw it back to 3-2. We need to get a nice early goal, settle the crowd down, and give the fans something to shout about, because we haven't had an awful lot to shout about this season overall, really. I mean, I don't think we've played particularly well in any of the games, you know, where you've really looked at it and thought we're brilliant. And we're on a bit of a slippy slide here now. Is there an element perhaps that Frank Lampard could be under pressure if there's a bad result here? That's it, Dan. That's aim for Dan.
Well, it's like you said. I think we've got to take advantage of the home atmosphere. I think that's the fact it's home is massive. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. I don't think we've got the right to say we should guarantee win this, because Crystal Palace, if we sit back, have got some very good attacking players with AU, Zaha. They got that one from Celtic, what's his name? The one that plays striker, Edward or something like that. I can't remember his name, that we was in talk with. They've got some good players, so it's not an easy game, is it, Ryan? That's the thing. I definitely think, and Lampard touched on it a few times in this interview, the atmosphere is massive. And I think Lampard's trying to... See, the way I started off, if you go through my channel the last few days, I'm starting to get a little bit less stressed ready for this game, and only just on time. Do you know what I mean? Because that last game, Ryan, took it out of me. It really did take the air out of me, I tell you. But I'm slowly ready for this now. But it is a massive game, but it's not an easy game. It really isn't. Lampard's going to have to get it right, and our atmosphere is going to have to be very good as well, because you've just said, is Lampard under pressure? I don't want an atmosphere at Goodison like we're under pressure. I want an atmosphere to get behind the players to bring out their best performances, if you know where I'm coming from.
Well, I was at the games against... I wasn't at the away fixtures. I don't tend to get to the away games. I'm not in that privileged group of people. But I was at the home match against Man United, and I didn't think the atmosphere was good at all. I didn't like the Sunday 7:00 kickoff. I thought the atmosphere was flat. People were knackered. People were tired. They've had a long week at work. A lot of them had gone out on the Saturday night. It was not an appropriate time, and I think that sucked the life out of it. And we saw a tepid performance, really, where we did have chances, but our finishing was quite lackluster. And it was 2 mistakes that Man United punished. And I think we're now seeing a bit of a habit here with these mistakes. You look at the Onana, where he loses the ball, diddling on it, you could say, at Newcastle. And away at Tottenham Hotspur, the penalty, where I don't really know what else Pickford can do. But for me, it was a penalty, even though Kane knows exactly what he's doing. And there's a little bit of gamesmanship, you should say. Tomorrow, I just think the fans are going to be up for it. I think they'll be behind the team. But at the same time, Luke, Crystal Palace have got a few England internationals now. They're not going to be it's not going to be a walkover, is it? I mean, you look at Eze, who's improving in that central midfield area, and some of the other players they've got, is it Guida, the centre-back, plays for England now? Gaida, or they've got some players who are in and about that sort of squad. So they're going to be tough.
Yeah, I've just got the lineup here, a predicted lineup anyway. So they're predicting that they could potentially have like Ward, Addison, Gueye, I think it is, Mitchell, Eze, Decore, Schlupp, Elise, Edwards, I think is the one you were on about, Dan, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the one. I'm like with names.
Yeah, Edwards is definitely one we need to keep out of the contention altogether. If they have either Cody or Tarkowski, if that guy is anywhere near the box, just pin onto him. Just stay goal side of him and just make sure he doesn't get a look in, because he is their biggest goal threat right now. I mean, Zaha's still a goal threat, but this Edouard guy has been doing it left, right, and centre for them this season. He's been one of their main outlets. So that's definitely one to look at. I think
they've got a lot of pace. Sorry, Luke.
No, it's okay. One of the main concerns with Everton at the moment, I wouldn't say it's the defence or even the midfield. Now, granted, like you said, there was a few little fluff-ups with Onana. But as Dan, I believe you said in the past, he's only a young kid still. Give him time and he should come right. I think just as games come on, he should be getting better and better. I would like to see him probably, instead of trying to do his little flourish and pirouettes here, there and everywhere, I'd rather see him trying to keep it simple, just get the ball and go sort of mindset, rather than trying to, rip the entire midfield apart by just skilling past them. That's all well and good, but when you lose the ball doing that sort of stuff, the Goodison fan base will get right up on you, just because we'd rather see you putting the graft in and having a hard day's game, rather than trying to be clever and tricky about it and trying to outskill the opposition, because it's just not necessary. We just want you to have a graft.
I actually think with Onana, there's probably still too much. He's probably only playing at 50% of his potential. I see him jogging around a lot. I don't actually see him doing a lot of sprinting. And it infuriates me, a player of his size and quality, potentially, he should be just able to waltz past players. And often I think, actually, Luke, I think he can be too conservative and play it too simple now. I think he's getting...
He's lost his signal there, hasn't he? I think he's having a bit of a problem with his signal.
Yeah.
He'll be back anyway. I think it's... I think he's right. I think Onana is only playing at 50, 60%, Luke, I do. And I don't think it's his fault. I just don't think we're probably using him in the right way, or it's not clicking. No player at that age is going to come and hit the ground running that fast. So carry on, Ryan. It's just cut off, but don't worry, we carried it on for you.
The laptop's packed in. I knew it was really, really struggling. I'm actually going to just boot myself off there. It was really, really struggling. I don't know what it is with it, but it normally would have crystal clear signal. There's nothing wrong with the internet, as you can see. I'm here live now on my phone in the same room, so it just decided to die. I think the battery might have gone, but it's plugged into the charger. So yeah, that's great.
You got the boss here anyway, so don't worry about it. I'll keep it. I've got your back.
Good man. So I was just saying, I think Onana, for me, you're seeing a lot of potential there. I think we've got a thing at Everton where we like to out-coach players' natural talent. Where we sign a lot of players with ability and we kind of out-coach them. And I actually think playing, we've got a lot to talk about really, but in this 4-3-3 system that we're deploying, the two midfielders to the left side and the right side of the three have either got to create, run beyond the striker and run into the box, drift wide to create some form of overloads with the fullback and the winger, or simply cover the spaces left when your fullbacks are bombing on. And when I'm watching Iwobi and watching Onana, I'm not thinking they're actually doing any of those things. I think Iwobi is doing more things from a creative standpoint, but actually what we're seeing is because the fullbacks are very, very limited, we're neither here nor there. Now, okay, if our fullbacks, we know Mykolenko's got his technical deficiencies. Luke, I haven't had many conversations with you on football other than spaces, so I don't know what your opinion is on these individuals, but the likes of Mykolenko and Coleman, the technicalities they're not particularly good going forward. And I think then you're saying to the midfield, well, actually, we don't actually need you to be that reactive defensive person who covers the space when the fullbacks go forward. I actually want the midfield, providing the fullbacks aren't going to get forward, I want the midfield to be prepared to go and support Calvert-Lewin, to go in the box, to go and make up that extra number. Because what Newcastle did to us was they had their two fullbacks pinning our wingers. So anytime Gordon or Gray got the ball, they had their back to goal. They were smothered, they were pressed, they were hacked out of it. They had nowhere to go. And then you got Calvert-Lewin stood up top on his own. It doesn't work.
No.
So you have to have someone who can break the lines in that midfield, disrupt an opposition shape. And for me, I think Onana could do that. But if not, I think we need to see more from the fullbacks. I think Mykolenko, for me, he's not doing anything. 11 games this season, I don't think he's registered an assist. I think he goes games without crossing the ball. I certainly doesn't cross it well. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I just want to see more. Could it be an opportunity for Vinagre possibly to come in at left back?
You know what? I think Vinagre could be a good option for the next game. Give Mykolenko a little bit of time on the bench. Just say to him, look, for this game, we're going to start with Vinagre. If he's not cutting it, we'll put you back on at half-time. But quite frankly, with Mykolenko, I like the guy. He's a really good left back in the regards of getting up the field. But in terms of his skill set, he is extremely basic. He does play football to the most basic extent. It's literally run up the field, cut inside when need be. If the left winger is up there, great. If not, try and cross it in. But at the moment, it's very difficult to cross in because the only person that's sitting in the box is Calvert-Lewin normally. And he's normally sitting in the box and he's got three defenders around him, is pretty much completely held out of the game. And if we were to say, really throw caution to the wind and say, go for a 4-4-2 maybe, and you have Mopé and Calvert-Lewin, that could open up other sorts of avenues. But the only problem is, though, Mopé was meant to be brought into the squad because he's one of those sorts of players. He loves to mess with the defense's head. He duck and weaves and dives between every single one of the defenders. He does things like little pats on the shoulder, trying to whisper in the ear while the ball's not in his control. He does everything in the most snidey way possible, which is good for a striker. But the thing is, it doesn't seem to be that he's doing that while he's with us at the moment. I've not noticed it anyway.
I think there's, obviously we're trying to talk a lot because there's a lot to say, and we're reading your comments and we can't put them up all the time, but just a quick one on this comment because it's kind of, I think it's a really good one, Ryan. always on Robbie Pritchard. He said, Dan Ryan, Luke, I think we have a history for not allowing players to express themselves. And reading that, I think that's partly true. What do you think on that? I think that's a really good point, and that's what is a big problem at the minute, because it feels like we're thinking twice about doing what we should be doing. It feels like we're thinking about defending more than playing our game. That's what it feels like. With Coleman, he isn't getting forward. He's thinking more about don't make a mistake as a right back. Mikalenko isn't getting forward. He's thinking more don't make a mistake as a left back. So straight away, that's bad. And then our centre midfielders seem to be passing it back to our defenders instead of taking the risk and trying to do something and playing the game. I wonder if, I listened to Lampard. I always listen to his interviews, and it was an interesting one. It had my head up and down, to be fair. I wonder if, he's going to come out and go for it this one. I think this might be the game that's a wake-up call. And there was a comment that just said, what about if we do lose this one? Is Lampard's job at stake? Yeah. They spoke to Lampard in the interview about Gerrard, spoke about Gerrard too much. It seemed to be an interview about Steven Gerrard, to be fair. Lampard never said nothing about his job at stake. He seemed very happy. But he did mention Calvert-Lewin. He said he's not had him. And Calvert-Lewin coming back into the squad, I'm going to try and play to Calvert-Lewin because he's one of the best strikers around. But trying to play a style that gets the best out of Calvert-Lewin might take a bit of time.
Dan, we talked about this really in depth. What does Calvert-Lewin thrive on? It's the cross into the 6-yard box, pinning a small fullback or sliding it across. And we stripped away all the players who can cross the ball: Gylfi Sigurdsson, James Rodriguez, Richarlison and Luka Dean. So this is where we go back to the criticism of the likes of Mikalenko and say, well, whilst Luke's right, he can get up the field. He does play conservative, and there's no end product there. And I think the same with Coleman. Patterson is a big miss. Hopefully he'll be back for the next game. But how can we disrupt Crystal Palace, really? Well,
he said Patterson, Ryan. He said Patterson a week. Just letting you know that, because you said to update you on what I listened to. He said Patterson a week.
Thanks. Well, we've got that. We've got we've got to be able to cause more problems to Crystal Palace than we've done, because we've had 3 games where we've not looked threatening. It's not been enjoyable. Let's be honest, dreadful. They've been very bad spectacles, and I just don't think we could afford to have that again. So, just in the effort of structure, because I know we can all talk about individuals and go on, and we've all got so much to say. Dan, can you let us know what happened in the press conference today? Enlighten our viewers who've possibly been at work and not had much time.
I'll just try and put it briefly to not bore you. It kind of started out him talking about, they obviously spoke about the results. Lampard didn't really say he's stressing about anything. He said that when we have possession, we need to create more chances, because they hit in the interview, you had 0 shots, which obviously they would. He said that the way he's got us playing, they should be having more shots. He's going to speak to the players that they should be more clinical, and that he's going to push us to attack better. He said we should be attacking better. So I do think he's identified that. He did point out that he can only do so much. It's down to the players as well. He's mentioned the crowd. The one thing that got me, and this is the thing that does me, I was a bit like Lampard stepped your game up on his back a little bit. And this is where I'm a sucker. He goes in the interview, he started talking about Everton. He said that game last season against Crystal Palace was one of the best moments in his life. And he said that game was it's one of his best moments in his life. And straight away I thought, how can it be nasty to you when because he does love Everton, doesn't he? He really does love Everton. This is why I want him to succeed, because...
But how much goodwill can you give?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but it is what you want as your club. He is like a fan. He really does connect with a club, but I just really want him. As I said to you last time, Ryan, he needs to step his game up now, because he is the right man and ticks so many boxes, but the main box is how good are you as a manager tactically, and he needs to step his game up now. I think he will.
I'm not here to... I think he's a really likeable guy. I relate to him. I think the players relate to him. I think we were outclassed at Newcastle. Luke, Dan touched on something there about he can only do so much, Lampard. Are the players just not brave enough? Because I looked at the Spurs thing and I thought, if you just settle on the ball and show a little bit more bravery to get forward, the whole point of signing Gay and Onana was to give you protection, to allow you to go and attack and express yourself. And look at this. Last 3 games, it was like, as I said before, we're just happy to be here. We're taking part. Are they brave enough, do you think, Luke?
I'm not too sure whether it's bravery. I hate to say it, but I think it could potentially be a lack of trust in the squad. Now, you watch the training videos and everyone looks like the best mates on the field, but I've played in games similar to what the situation's been, where we've conceded goals, we've been in a bad little rut, and you can be mates with the guy off the field, but on the field, your whole mindset changes, and you think, right, I remember him being really bad in that game. I can't trust to pass him. I mean, this was actually quite evident with Everton in the Man U game. Anthony Gordon was having an absolute howler, and what you found is halfway through the game, they just stopped passing to him. He did not become an outlet anymore. They just said, no, mate, you just do what you want. You run around like an idiot. We're not passing to you, though. You can get the loose ball if you want, but you're not getting anything from me because I know for a fact you're going to get dispossessed. They're going to push up the field, and if they score, it's on you, and it's probably on me because I passed it to you. So the lack of trust could be potentially the thing. So what Frank might need to do is pull them together and say, look, around you, these guys are all willing to play and die for you. So you need to do your thing, help them, they'll help you. Let's be a team and win this game.
I think you make a good point there, to be fair, like you say, with just the point where you say, if you make a mistake, you think twice about passing it to that player that's made the mistake. And you can see you've got to be in it as an 11. And whether you make a mistake or not, you've got to, with Lampard's plan, go through with it and keep going. If it's a good plan, you've got to believe in it. And I think you're right. Just on what you said there.
Dan, I want to know more. So, team news.
Yeah, I was just going to say that because I've seen the comments.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that someone dropped. I didn't tell you everything because it's hard to say everything in the interview and get it all out straight away. But he did say Holgate's obviously playing. Mina's not available, he said. There's one. He said Godfrey is training but won't be back until after the World Cup. They said, will he be training with the under-21s? He said probably, but he said Godfrey is one of those players that really, really wants to play and he's asking to play, but they can't rush it. But we know what Ben Godfrey's like, don't we? They said he can't wait to be in this team. That got me excited. Patterson, they said a week on Patterson. Yeah. So that's not going to be that bad, is it? So we'll have him back soon, who's a major, major player for us. And other than that, Calvert-Lewin, they said, did Calvert-Lewin... Did he come out of the game okay? And Lampard said, yes, we're buzzing that we got 70 minutes out of him. Calvert-Lewin's buzzing. Everyone's buzzing. Come out of the game perfect. So can only get better than that. So it's not bad, is it? Other than the Patterson, everyone's available really because we know about the Godfrey one. So other than that, we've got the players that we need. It's just getting them to perform.
Thanks, Dan. I really appreciate it because I don't think everyone's had the time to get updated with that. And I think it's nothing unexpected really. For me, the return of Ben Godfrey can't come quick enough, and I'd slot him in at left back as someone who's got the pace, just to allow us to step a little bit higher up along the pitch, because I think he could cover in behind when we are stepped up. Look, I don't think he's going to offer a knock going forward, but then you've got Patterson on the right coming back, and you could say, well, Patterson's going to go forward. A bit like when we had Baines and Hibbert. Hibbert kind of tucked in. He was the reactive. He was like a third centre-back in the build-up, and Baines had that complete freedom. Could we mimic that perhaps with the Godfrey a little bit more conservative, uses pace, and Patterson really, really go for it and build a lot of attacks down there? Because the way I see it is Gordon and Gray are quite selfish. You know, even if perhaps we are able to have some link-up players, you know, like a Pinar Baines, which really would be nice to see, you know, a genuine link-up down the flank, a third midfielder coming across and playing in triangles and really carving in teams. I mean, when was the last time we actually got in behind someone else's defence and crossed the ball? It's been a while. So it would be nice to see that link up, but the two of them are selfish. You could stick Baines, Gordon's still not going to pass to him. You could stick Prime Coleman on the right and Gray is still going to try and beat two men. But I also see the counter argument where Mikalenko doesn't go forward a lot. So he's got to beat two people. And at least if the fullback goes on and takes someone else away, he's got more space to work with. Maybe it's a 1v1, not a 1v2. So there's a couple of little arguments there for it.
It's that balance, isn't it? Like, sometimes you want your player to take him on and take the risk, but then when your player does take him on and take the risk and it don't work, you moan that he tried to take him on and didn't do the right thing. It's that balance, isn't it? Knowing when to. It's the football brain, which a lot of our players struggle with. They just need to know when to do things and when not. Which way you'd think when you've been playing football all your life, it'd be something that you've got. Yeah.
You've got two defenders there, Cody and Tarkowski, who look like, you know, they're in the top 6 to 8 centre-backs in the league, but they're lacking one thing, and that's the speed. If they
I
had
think
speed, they
one
wouldn't
thing
be
I was
playing.
going to say is, do you know where we're talking about Gordon and Gray being in the right positions? I think when they're receiving the ball, our opposition is set because we move the ball to them so slow. So when we give the ball to them, they have to take a player on because the opposition's in position. Where we need to start moving the ball fast, playing really, really fast, because then you catch players out of position and then you'll get Gordon and Gray, because Gordon and Gray need space to run into. I don't want to run in at players. I want them to run into dangerous positions, and then you'll get a bit of joy. We've seen Gordon do it against, was it Forest that he scored? Can't remember who he scored against, but he was cracking then because he went behind the defenders. I don't want to see them isolated on the wings. I want to see Gray and Gordon move towards the goal because
But they've done that,
I
Dan.
think they can score.
We've had Gray and Gordon play as number 10s, inside 10s. That was the system for the first 7 games. And we're all moaning that they weren't on the wing, actually being able to deliver across.
Not with a striker, though, was it? That's the thing. Not with DCL.
Yeah. I think now you've got Calvert-Lewin. The priority of those two players is to stick the ball on his head. And if they're not doing that for me, then they need to be dropped. Both of them, I really don't care. And Iwobi could be shifted out wide and you bring in another midfielder. Because if Calvert-Lewin starts, you have to play to his strengths.
The thing is, though, Ryan, if we've got, this is just a point here, I know you're clever with your football as well. So if we've got our right back and our left back going forward and doing what you've just said, putting the crosses in, then they can tuck in. Then you've got more players in the box. Then we're going to get more goals and more chances. But because our right back and left back are not getting up, are not putting crosses in, we miss out on so much, if you know what I mean. Because we could have Gordon and Gray in the box, and then it looks dangerous. You've got that. If you play, this is if you play the 4-3-3, you've got Calvert-Lewin, Gordon, and Gray in the box. That's a lot of stress for the opposition, and then you're starting to make them think, and you're giving them a game then. But because our right and left back's just sitting back, I don't think it helps because the opposition's right and left back, if you're following me, they just mark Gordon and Gray out of the game. So I'd like to see us get forward and give them more to think about, if you know where I'm coming from.
Tomorrow, the opposite winger has to get in the box. So the ball's on the left, Calvert-Lewin in the box. The opposite winger, I imagine Damari Gray on the right, in the box. Okay. And Onana in the box. Iwobi around the edge of the box.
Yes.
Gay, then the pivot reactive. The two centre-backs right in behind them, ready to win the second balls. And this is the thing we've not been doing in the last 3 games. We're not winning second balls. We're not winning first balls. And I think we've been dominated. The midfield's been really poor. You're talking about the fullbacks being poor, the front line's been atrocious, and the midfield's not winning any second balls. You saw Iwobi, who's been the best player of the season, getting subbed, which speaks volumes. So you just want to see more men in the box, having that security still there, not letting us get exposed. Palace have got a lot of pace. How can we stop that happening? Could Onana step up perhaps tomorrow and actually play more defensive role, actually run and use this big frame and pace to break up the play and stuff like that? So it'd be interesting to see. Luke, so your team for tomorrow then, could you give us an idea of how you would approach this game against Palace based on the information, the team news, the things we've just talked about now as well?
So what I'll potentially do with this sort of squads is keep it similar to what we had with Newcastle, except I'll probably give Gordon a little time on the bench and just basically say to him, look, mate, quite frankly, his attitude is absolutely atrocious. He's, what is he, 21, 22 years old? And he's running around. The attitude he's got on that pitch is absolutely disgusting. He's shouting at players who have done no wrong. And he's acting as if he runs the pitch when he's, quite frankly, just a piece of a bigger team. So I would give him a little time on the bench, just say to him, look, you need to chill out, mate. When you start actually having a bit more of a cooler head and not get a bloody yellow cards every single game, then you can get back on the pitch and start playing properly. But I would keep it in a very similar sort of situation, probably McNeil in for him. And from there, what I would like to see is try and get McNeil to operate with his right a little bit more because he is so heavily left-footed. Everyone knows how to play him. So potentially maybe have him on the right wing and say to him, right, cut inside. If you see the goal, go for goal. Just go for it. Make their keeper have to move because that's been one of the biggest issues we've had so far. We've not really challenged many keepers because we just haven't had the goal to try and have a go outside the box. I mean, that's something we could do. Damari Gray's great at it. Dwight McNeil has been known for it. I mean, Calvert-Lewin, granted, what you need to do with him is you just have him in the box, throw something in, hopefully he gets a head on it. Iwobi, he's good at it for outside the box. Onana, apparently when he was in the French league, he was quite good at it. He could actually whack a ball quite well. Just a gate, the same. Just say to them, look, if you are outside the 18-yard box, have a crack. It's not hard. I mean,
chances are taking more opportunities, but
yeah,
you talk about a lack of goals. I think we've only scored, Dan, 8 goals this season in 11 games. And you look at the players who are playing up front for us, and you have to think you're brain dead to sign them. I mean, Dwight McNeil scored no goals last season and registered no assists, or I think 1 assist in a very poor Burnley team. And yet someone thought it would be good to bring him into a very poor Everton team and think he'd have a change of fortunes. As you say, he's very heavily left-footed. That makes him very predictable. I think I'm reserving my whole judgment on him until he's played with Calvert-Lewin on the left, because I think he's got a very good cross on him. That's one thing he has got. And he could just stick left mid, your job, stick it on Calvert-Lewin's head, get Onana running into the box as well to support them, and the opposite winger tucking in as well. And that could be the route to score.
I think on McNeil
is another one who's you mentioned in that list. He turns up 1 week, he looks world class, and then 3 games in a row, he's atrocious. And I don't think we can afford to have it. And there's no surprise, given the signings and given who's available and their records, that we aren't scoring goals. But we haven't had Calvert-Lewin fit. So how much is the problems down to personnel? How much is it down to tactics? That's a really, really important question. And I think our biggest strength in our defence is also our biggest weakness. I think the defenders we have restrict the way we play, and really stop us from playing. You looked at the Newcastle game, and the defence is like 18 yards deeper than everyone else unnecessarily, and you're thinking you don't want to get caught out for lack of speed, but we need everyone up the pitch getting close to the goal. So Luke, 1 to 11 then, please.
1 to 11. So Pickford's in goal. I would start out with Vinagre at the left, Tarkowski, Cody in the middle, obviously, because those two are just a brilliant little combination. Unfortunately, it'd have to be Coleman on the right. I would like to say Holgate, because he can play a right back, Mason Holgate, if he's fit. Typical 3 in the middle, Onana, Garner. Instead of just a Garner Gay, I would like to see James Garner, because apparently he plays well as a number 6. So I'd like to see him instead of just a Gay for this one. And then a Wobie with Onana. Either side, I would do McNeil and Gray. And I would probably emphasize to Gray and say to him, if Dwight McNeil has the ball, I want you to be hovering around the box. Don't go into the box because you haven't got the height to get your head on it. And to be fair, we've never seen Damari Gray actually score a header. And then at the very pinnacle, obviously, we'd have Calvert-Lewin. And again, like you said, Dwight McNeil. If you have an opportunity to try and loft it in, see if Calvert-Lewin can get a head on it. Otherwise, have a crack yourself. If you can't see a clear chance for like a cross, just have a crack, because there's no point in holding up play, because chances are if we try and hold up for too long, we'll either be dispossessed or we'll be overrun within 2 to 3 seconds. So if you see the opportunity, go for it.
Thanks, Luke. Dan, now over to you. Now, Luke, I think, has played it a little bit safe there. Is there an argument that after 3 straight defeats, 11 games where we've only scored 8 goals and we've looked pretty diabolical going forward? I mean, someone described us as the most boring team in the league to watch. I can't disagree. I am nervous, really, because I don't really see many teams being in that relegation fight. I think Fulham are doing all right. Bournemouth are doing all right. Forest are doing... Normally, you see the relegated teams, or at least someone doing really bad and being like 1 or 2 points. But no one seems to be that terrible. Is there an argument now we have to do something and change it? I mean, you've got Doucouré as an option on the bench, Tom Davis. You've got a case for Ruben Vinagre at left back, more impetus, and he's a very good crosser of the ball. You'd argue then you've got the 3 midfielders who can cover them and allow Vinagre to actually get forward. An argument for a 4-4-2 with Neil Maupay. And then the conversation over Gordon. Frank Lampard loves him, but actually there's no end product there in the last few games. And as Luke has alluded to, some attitude issues perhaps. Although I have met Anthony Gordon and he was lovely and he signed a shirt for me and had a chat and showed a sense of humour. So I don't know how much of that is just frustration on the pitch and how much is that a personality problem. I think it probably is the former. So Dan, on that basis, what would you do? And again, an argument possibly for even Holgate coming in at right back. So over to you.
What's the saying? You don't cut your nose off to spite your face, or something like that. So I think because Gordon didn't play well last game, I think dropping him this game when you've got Ward as their right back and the defence looked quite slow. The centre back, I've heard some people say, is good, but Crystal Palace's defence for me is the weakness. And I think dropping Gordon, who, let's face it, when he had that red card and missed that game, we missed his speed. And whether he's making mistakes and not playing to his best, which he didn't last time, he had a nightmare, but he could come back this game and play his best. So why us being in a strop and not using him, we could miss out ourselves. So I generally do think, I mean, I'll give you a team that I would use, and I'll just quickly say I think we'll play the same team as last time, Ryan. We will play the same team as last time. I do think that'll happen because the thing is, that team that played against Newcastle, they all played shit. They could all play a lot better. He could play that again, and it could be better, couldn't it? Because they all played at 60%. So they could play that against Crystal Palace and it could win. But I personally, and you'll probably grill me for this, I did a formation earlier on. I would play with the 3 centre-backs. I would play with Cody, Tarkowski and Holgate. I bring Holgate in. And then because we're struggling to get crosses in, I think we got crosses in more when we played with wing-backs with 3 centre-backs because they know my job is to get forward because
even though that leaves both your centre backs who play on the side of the centre exposed to 1v1 when their wing back goes forward in the last.
That is the danger with Zaha. It is the danger.
So let's be realistic. That's not really good, is it?
No, I don't think it's going to change. I just think that with that formation with the 3 centre backs, we had a little bit more possession. And we built it up from the back because there was more players sitting back.
We've got a lot of options in midfield, though, Dan. We've got a lot.
I personally would like to see Decore, but I'm struggling to get him in. And I would like to see him because he hasn't played with a good.
You said what Lampard will do. Give us your team 1 to 11, then.
Like I say, I would play with the 3 centre backs. I know you don't like that, but I'd play with. I got grilled for this earlier on. Cody, Tarkowski, and Holgate. And then on the left, I'd play Vinagre. And I'd say Vinagre, get forward as much as you can, put crosses in. But Vinagre can get back. He can play left wing back. A lot of the teams play with 3 centre back. Then on the right-hand side, this is what I got grilled for. I play James Garner because I've watched him play as a number 6 and he can get back and cover. Did you do that? No, because do you know what though? Don't worry because I have got a backup for this. The only reason I play James Garner is because I want someone on that right wing back to put crosses in, and McNeil doesn't defend that good. He does me head in. So
I think he defends quite well.
If you watch a lot of the goals, he didn't close down a lot, and he was out of position.
Oh, and some of the goals are all mistakes. Dan.
Yeah, a lot of the goals haven't. A lot of the goals haven't come from our defenders, Ryan. They're not defenders' mistakes; they're midfielders' mistakes. Yeah. If you watch it, it's all midfielders' mistakes, and McNeil's been there, and our centre backs a big part as well. So basically, all right. And what about this then? What about this? I'm putting Iwobi right wing back, and I know that's not his best position, and we miss out a lot having him right wing back. But fact is, Iwobi, if you played him right wing back, he would probably mark Zaha out the game if Zaha's on that side. Iwobi, he is pretty solid. If you give him a job, he'll do it. And this is about winning. This isn't about a player playing in his best position. This is about us winning. So I play Iwobi right wing back because he can get forward. He'll keep the ball. He'll keep us in possession. And he'll stop them that side. So I've got Vinagre, Iwobi. I don't want to do this, but I just feel like this formation is good. And then I'd play Onana. How do I get Decore in? Decore. Onana and Decore. Decore's in because Iwobi's on the right-hand side. So Onana, Decore. I'm dropping Garner Gay, by the way. And then I'm going to play Gordon in front of them and Mupé and Calvert-Lewin as striker. So a triangle 3. So you've kind of got Mupé and Calvert-Lewin, and then you've got Gordon behind them, running into that number 10 space. And then we've actually got Gordon Because I would the reason behind this, Ryan, is because when we've played with 3 centre midfielders last time, and I thought, yes, we're going to be good here. We've got 3 good centre midfielders. All 3 centre midfielders, because they're so close to each other, they're all lazy. They don't put a shift in. And I think if you play 2, just Decore and Onana, because I've watched Onana playing a 2, he's going to try harder. And I think they can, because if your 2 centre midfielders are really good, they'll be able to do it.
They pass the responsibility when there's 3 of them.
That's what happens, Ryan. That's why I want to change the formation.
But, what you've described there against the team in Crystal Palace, which is arguably the strongest area of their team, is on the wings and their pace on the wings. You're going for a 5 at the back and then this 2 centre mids and then 8 central strikers effectively floating around. So I don't know whether that'll play in stands. I get what you're saying in terms of you want to change.
Yeah, technically a 5 at the... Technically, though, Ryan, when you play the 5 at the back and the wing-backs do get back, that stops their wingers. It makes it really hard for them. Spurs do it, don't they? It makes it really hard because you've got 5 when you defend.
I'm sitting here thinking, well, what would I do as my team? But
yeah, go on, give me yours. It's hard, isn't it? It is hard. Go on.
A lot of options. There's a lot of people who could say Decore, yeah, you can give them a chance. Davis, give them a chance. Garner, give them a chance. Who's not done well. The players. So you can change.
I just read the comments. Daniel getting sacked in the one. Don't listen to my lineup, by the way. I just want something different. Go on.
Vinagre again. I wouldn't mind seeing him, but I'm not so sure. And I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. I'm really sorry. I had a team in my head. I was like, we should mix it all up completely, and completely lost the plot. I'm going to move on.
It's just go on, give us your team. Focus. Give us your team. That's the problem. We know we should change it, but I don't think you can change it. And that's what I said to you, Ryan. What's your team? Go on, get it in your head.
I remember.
I'm thinking maybe Begovic in goal, Vinagre, Godfrey, Holgate, Keane.
No, I had a good idea.
Davies, Decore.
I had a good idea. Look, I'll be honest. I don't like any of them.
Let's not beat around the bush. Obviously, I said my team just to change it just because I was pissed off. But generally, Ryan, the 4-5-1, the 4-5-1, the same as last game, doesn't it?
I know to win this game.
Oh,
4-4-2. Rondon and Calvert-Lewin up front. McNeil left wing, and get the ball in the fucking box and get all your midfield winning second ball and just dominate them in the air. Because just hear me out. What other creativity have we got? We've got one man who's got an ounce of creativity, and he's Alex Iwobi. You're not getting any consistency from any of your wide men. So I'd be tempted. We looked quite effective against Man U when we played really direct at the end there.
I want to get some. I'm trying to get my mouse. I'm trying to get my mouse to put some birds going around your head to show you've, where the birds go around the head where you've lost the plot. You've just played Rondon.
You know what I need? I need that wig.
Yeah, no.
To tell you the truth, the only time I'd say it'd be acceptable to use Rondon would be against Manchester City solely just so he can cut Haaland in half.
Well, Lampard did say in the interview, he said, don't rule out the fact that I can actually play Mopé and Calvert-Lewin together. He said they can play together. Well, I generally would love us to see put us the ball to Calvert-Lewin, him win it, and then Mopé be around and him sniff out, because he is good, but he's never going to win the ball forward, is he? But I think he could get the knockdowns. I do think he could get the knockdowns. And he scored a cracking goal, though, didn't he, Ryan? He showed he can score. That was a cracking goal that he scored. He literally got us the 3 points from nothing.
Let's go to
Let's go to
the comment, and then I want to find out a little bit more about Crystal Palace and get your predictions. Okie dokie.
Got this lucky top back on.
Eze's a danger. I agree. I think that's been touched upon, and David's agreeing with me. Rose, a friend of the show, she's saying Zaha, Eze, Elise, she's not too excited about playing against them. I think the issue there, a lot of pace, a lot of mobility. And I think this is what I come back to and say about winning the second balls and the first balls and recycling possession well and turning them over and actually saying to Gordon and Gray, you can run in behind the opposition defence. Don't think that everything needs to be dropping in, coming towards you, trying to control it and beat 3 people. Don't be afraid to just run in behind. And then I can hear you going, well, we've got no one who can play that pass in behind. So there's always a reason, isn't there, Luke, why something's not going to work. You know, when I talk about that as a solution, running in behind, there's no one who can actually play a ball in behind. Lampard has to do sub the players quicker. This is something people, Dan, you've been annoyed about this, haven't you? Luke, you can see you itching to say something there.
Yeah, that is definitely something we need to try and get dealt with. I mean, Frank Lampard, for some reason, he seems to wait until like near the 80th minute before making a singular sub. And we've got 5 substitutes there. We could change the entire dynamic of a squad in the course of, say, 15, 20 minutes. We could make it go from like a defensive 5-4-1 to like a very attack-minded 4-3-3 with a few substitutions. Why he doesn't do that, I have no idea. I mean, granted, you could say, oh, it's going to mess with the mindsets of the players. These are professional athletes. They should be able to adapt to a game like that. So
do you know where some of our players, like, do you know when you watch football sometimes, some player can play shit all game, but it'll score at the end to win a team the game. Our players ain't like that. If our player's having a bad game at the start, he's not going to turn it around. He's going to have a bad game. So I think you've just got to change it. And I think sometimes Lampard hopes that a player can turn it around for him and prove that his setup was right. But with our players,
on an individual piece of brilliance, and at some
you can tell straight away.
We've got to rely on a bit more than someone having a worldie and doing it like that. You know what I mean? Kevin saying you're a bit of a lad. I watched last night's video. You're right, one Ryan. I was pissing myself. Mark's giving his.
It got me. It got me. Do you know what? I'm miserable. I am, but I'm positive with Everton, but it takes a lot to make me laugh. I watch You Being Framed, and I don't laugh all the way through it. But listen, when you come on, mate, that got me big time. That did.
You know, I set the trap up for Yanndalf. Why don't we do a phone-in style show? Knowing full well he wouldn't really know how to execute it in terms of you have a specific layout and audio only, and I think it would look a bit more like this. Let me show you now, like this. So Dan would be the person taking the calls, and there'd be someone in the lobby, one person with no camera, and he'd be interviewing them. But Yanda, he didn't quite grasp it. Ended up being completely different. So I thought, now he's not doing that. I'll get the camera on. Had a wig, some sunglasses, the talcum powder, some bit of makeup, contoured the nose and made it a different color. The black hair on it, and I came on. Said to Stevie, who's Luke, he's my brother. He's on the channel as well now and again. He does a lot of our match reactions when we're at the game. I said, should I go for a voice, completely different, a woman's voice in a man's body, or should I do like Scottish Evertonian or something? And he said, no, just go Everton. They don't like a top.
It was kind of like Bill Kenwright, basically. It was like your Bill Kenwright.
Sounds like a skull.
But it was. Do you know what though, Ryan? Generally, there's a couple of things that made that so funny, and we'll go off this topic back to the football. The thing that made it so funny for me was, for one, you could have actually been. That could have not been Ryan. We didn't know because we wasn't 100%. And imagine if we accepted one of the subscribers on, and we was completely laughing about the way he looked. That would have been an absolute nightmare. So we couldn't risk it because we wasn't 100% at first. And then I got it a little bit. And the second thing that made me laugh the most was just the stuff you were saying, mate. Your voice and your lines was bang on. It made me laugh my head off. It cheered me up.
You know what? If you watch it back, the funniest part of that is when I go, the camera's off and I go, I am absolutely not Ryan. Just as the comes on, and then you start laughing the minute you see me because it's like straight away.
And then, when you go into about the moustache, this is not a fake moustache. I was like, God, it did get
me on your show.
And you got Luke as well. Luke's first time on the channel, and he was walking to get to his studio thing, and it's dark, and then you was like, who's that with a candle? He needs a candle over there. Something. I was like laughing my head off.
It's all right because I've spoken to.
Yeah, I know. It's just funny though. You've got to have a laugh. You've got to have a laugh.
Know how to react. He was like, but the thing was that you and Ian knew you had an inkling it was me, but deep down, I had a fake Twitter account. Francesco had messaged him.
Why was your moustache blonde? That's what got me because.
My partner, she'd put all sorts of things on it, and
because normally your moustache is brown, and I looked on it and it was blonde, and I thought, Ryan's not got a blonde moustache.
on, I had white stuff. You know, the whole thing was what it was, and I was like, Yanndalf, you can't presume it's Ryan. You know, it's wrong. It could be a genuine person.
Yeah.
And the fact the two of you are laughing, and Luke was the only one who could hold it together, trying to be professional. And the two of you were assuming it was me, and it could have not been me. But look, it was really funny. And you know,
I definitely think I said to my partner the other day, I think every 3 weeks or so, because we can get, I think it's 8 people we can get on. When we love our fans and subscribers, honestly, we can't thank you enough, because it's regular, a lot all the time, and you're always there and developed us out big time, aren't they, Ryan? So I was thinking we could do every 3 weeks where we get like 8 people on and just have an Everton discussion as a one-off thing every 3 weeks, because
we'll try and do it. Well, yeah, we'll try and
it'll be good
on tomorrow after the match. But you know, Dan, the Bill Kenwright, taken my boy again.
I don't like that one as much now. I prefer what's his name, Francis. I prefer Francis, to be fair, mate. He's more my type of guy.
Brilliant.
So back to the that was
Crystal
classic.
Palace.
That was classic. But back to the Crystal Palace. We know a lot of you want. We've still got scores, and we'll still end the conversation on Crystal Palace.
Yeah. Here you go. Here's some team news. Mark Spurrier, regular watcher. Pick for Vinagre, Cody, Tarkovsky, Iwobi in at right back there. Vinagre in at left wing back. That's very offensive. How much discipline have the two of them got? Decore and Anna and Gay. There's some legs in there. That means that Iwobi's been dropped. Gordon Gray, DCL. Interesting.
They've got They've got a player called Decore, and he's crap. He always gets yellow cards. Crystal Palace have. He always gets yellow cards, and he's a really bad tackler. I've watched him quite a lot, so it'll be confusing if we both play Decore.
So
they're not that good in centre midfield, are they? They're not that good in centre midfield, and they're not that good in defence. And I think sometimes because we're not liking our attacking players, and they've got good attacking players, we get scared. But remember, they haven't got that much of a good defence, and they haven't got that much of a good centre mid. And when we was like that last season, we didn't have a good defence or centre mid, even though we had good attacking players with Richarlison. Sometimes even having good attacking players means nothing when you haven't got good things behind it. And Crystal Palace, I do feel, honestly, Ryan, if we go at them, I feel we can hurt them. Remember, this is a team that's not far off the team that we come back and scored 3 goals against in one half. Do you know what I mean? So
expected to win, and I think we will. We'll come to predictions in a moment. Matty's saying 4-2-3-1, Pickford, Mikalenko, Tarkovsky, Cody, Holgate, Garner, Nana, McNeil, Iwobi, Gray, and DCL. Wonderlust is saying you can see Eze, Hughes, or Orborn getting one in on us. Kevin's admiring your top. Dave Weston's just tuning in. Robbie said he's optimistic, but he's now worried. He doesn't see anything in the team that inspires him. Okay, so Luke, a little bit of insight on Palace. Anything else you can think of to touch on? I mean, they didn't start well the season, but they seem to have picked up a couple of wins now and got themselves away from that little purple patch, was it?
Yeah. Yeah, my main concern is more the fact that now that they've actually got a couple of wins under the belt, that they're now hitting their stride. And as we've sort of stalled a bit, there's 2 ways it could go. Either we go out and exploit their defense, get, say, 2-3 goals to maybe their 1 or 2, and we walk away with the win. Or Patrick Vieira might completely turn on its head and go, right, Zaha, Edouard, whoever, get it in the net, and from there, we'll park the bus, frustrate them. I know what this fan base is like. They will get on their back. They'll basically start booing, hissing, and everything, and complaining the second Everton go down. As what was his name? A certain Burnley manager once said. He said a very certain thing about us when it was halftime. I think it was Sean Dyche. He said a certain phrase. I'm not going to repeat it on here because it'd be considered blasphemy. But it's one of those sorts of things where they try and exploit it. I mean, Man U did it to us. We went 1-0 up. They got 2 in rapid succession. And then from there, they just sort of tried. They just pressed. They let us come at them. And because we didn't have any much in terms of an attacking option, they just held it. And then occasionally they do a break, have challenged the keeper a little bit. Tottenham did the exact same thing after Weeds conceded through the penalty. They just parked the bus. So that is probably the way to undo us, which is the worst way.
Newcastle park the bus. The problem that Everton have is we play too slow. We don't play out the press well. So when teams do that, that is a concern. But again, Luke, I think you're spot on there with what you're saying about the crowd. You know, Crystal Palace will probably come here thinking if we can get the early goals, settle this crowd down, we'll get on our backs. We've seen 3 defeats in a row. We'll be nervous. But Dan, also, you wouldn't bet against us, and I know you like a little flutter. 3-2 Calvert-Lewin, last goal scorer. It's got to be worth 10 quid on that, I think.
I was just going to say on one of the comments, everything Everton, they're always on. Cracking, obviously, know him. He said, who's going to score the goals for us? Sometimes, like, I've been more stressed than anyone with Everton, trust me, but sometimes we overthink it. It could take us being very good defensively and us scoring 1 goal to win the game. And we don't need to think Gordon, Gray, and every player in our attacking needs to score a goal. We could just get Calvert-Lewin scoring a winner. We just need to make sure. I do think we need to attack more. We need to get shots on target. But we need to get Calvert-Lewin to score, I think, because now he's fit. I know a lot of people say Calvert-Lewin's only good at heading the ball in the back of the net. But if you get the best out of Calvert-Lewin, it's going to benefit this Everton team. And I just think just get the ball into him and get your midfielders onto him and get it right, because Calvert-Lewin is good. And when he got into that England team, he was firing under Carlo and he was very good. He was scoring a goal a game. He scored 15 goals very quick, and we was thinking he was going to hit 20 for a season. And we just generally need, Ryan, a striker that we can. Do you know where you play every game and you think he's going to score? Do you know where the red shirt, I hate to talk about him, you always know friggin' Salah's going to score.
Lukaku, Yakubu, Dan's gone. Battery's absolutely gone. Wow, my name's Sean Dyche. I think Everton. You know, oh God, don't recommend doing that voice. We've lost Dan. So Luke, your prediction, please, for tomorrow's game.
I'm going to say 2-1. I'm going to say Tarkowski from a corner. They're going to respond with Zaha from open play, and then it's going to be in the dying minutes. Onana just having an absolute moment of brilliance and just knocking one into the top corner.
Thanks, Luke. I'm going with a 3-2 Everton win at 2-2 at halftime. Calvert-Lewin to score the winner in the 83rd minute, precisely. And a pitch invasion. No, we'll leave that one out. You know,
I'm just going to go 1-0, 1-0, 1-0 or 2-0, 1-0.
Yeah, 1-0. I think 1-0. If we're not winning 1-0, we're not winning. Ultimately, I think once we don't keep the clean sheet, are we scoring 2 goals? It's going to be difficult. We are averaging 0.8 or 0.9 goals a game. I'm going to wrap things up now. Luke, thanks for coming on. Brilliant.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Dan, thank you so much. Wear that top tomorrow, and we'll be back, guys. I won't be personally. Signal is horrific coming out of Goodison, but Dan, are you going to be on the post-match?
Yeah, I'm all ready now. All ready for it tomorrow. I hope we win, though, because I've managed to get in a better mood, and it's took me a couple of days. I don't want to be put in a bad mood again. I tell you, I need something to cheer about, Ryan. I really do, because if we're shit tomorrow, I play with Everton. I'm a big-hearted Everton fan, and if we lose tomorrow, this channel's going to be... They'll probably love it because we'll be angry, but we don't want to be angry. We want to win.
It is that when we lose a game like that Newcastle match, we had over 1,000 views plus on the stream.
Yeah.
I looked and saw over 1,000 views on YouTube, and then when we win a match, it's like 300, 400, 500 tops. And
yeah, but we're going to have grey hair, Ryan.
Yeah.
We're going to have grey hair on the channel if we have another season like that. We'll be like 20 years older, grey hair.
Thicker hair than this, so it falls out. And my missus says to me that she's going to have to dye my hair grey. Can't tell off this, but I think we're all going to feel it's raining, isn't it? They say Everton fans have got 10 years less life expectancy than any other club. Right, I'm gonna wrap it up, and from all of us and Francis, we'll see you soon. Luke, we'll invite you back on very soon, believe us. But for now, we'll look forward to tomorrow's post-match reaction with Dan, Jeff, and hopefully Stevie, and hopefully we'll have Luke and Yanndalf back on. I know you want Yanndalf. You're always disappointed when it's me and not Yanndalf, but you've got me. I run this shit show. But we'll have Yanndalf soon. Guys, take care, and thank you so much for coming on.
Up the fucking Toffees.
All the best.
Have a good night, everyone. Have a good night. Up the fucking
Come on,
Toffees.
you Blues.